So you've been wanting to research companies, but you don't necessarily have the time to do it yourself, or you don't know how to do it yourself. In this series of videos, I'm going to be going step by step through my entire process from beginning to end on how I find companies, what I look for when I do my initial research on the companies. If they pass my initial research, how do I value and evaluate them after reading their financial statement? I will go step by step, including valuations when we get to that point, in how to evaluate companies. My name is Jason Rivera, and welcome to Value Investing Journey Case Studies. Hey, Jason here. Today, I want to continue talking about analyzing the Louis Vuitton Buyout of Tiffany. Today, we're going to do part 3, talking about the cash conversion cycle in depth. In the last 2 videos, we did the preliminary analysis of Tiffany using my preliminary analysis checklist I've developed over the last 12 years of evaluating businesses. And then in video 2, we talked about, or I explained what all the terms and metrics on the preliminary analysis worksheet meant, what they show you, the multiple things they show you, the red flags they show you, potential good things they show you, and why they're on the worksheet and the checklist, and why other metrics aren't on the checklist. Today, we're going to talk specifically about the cash conversion cycle in depth. I talked a little bit about this and why it's so important in the previous video. So if you want to watch either of those previous videos, there'll be a link below this video. But for today, we're going to talk specifically about the cash conversion cycle and why it's so important. Okay. The cash conversion cycle, at kind of the top level view, the easily understandable real world definition of cash conversion cycle is how long it takes a company to turn cash into inventory into sales, and then sales into more cash. And then the cycle continues from there. How long this entire period takes to go. The lower this number is, generally the better, because it means you are turning inventory faster. Meaning you're selling inventory faster, which means you're getting cash faster, which means you can buy more inventory faster, and so on and so on and so on. This number for companies like Amazon and Walmart can actually be negative, which essentially means that the company is getting cash before it even has to buy the inventory. That's how good its cash conversion cycle is. When you see that, it's fantastic. Because again, that lowers margin, or that lowers risk, which means there's greater margin of safety in the company. It also means likely that the company has great profits, cash flow, operating profits, cash flow, ROIC, and other profitability metrics. If this is the opposite, if it's high, is that bad? Necessarily. Not necessarily in all cases. It depends on the industry. But generally, again, the lower this number is, the better. For Tiffany's, this number is 475 days in the trailing 12-month period, which seems insanely high to me. I know they are a luxury goods producer, so they don't sell as much and as often as lower price products do, but this number still seems insanely high to me. And here's an illustration of why that is. In 2011, it was 390 days. So from 2011 to today, this number's risen by, 85 days. That's important to know, because it means their products are selling slower. It means they're getting cash slower. Likely means they're getting fewer purchases from customers. Probably means their margins are lower. Probably means their revenue's lower. all these things from this one single number, and I can kind of illustrate that here. So revenue isn't lower, which means they've probably raised prices. Margins are lower. Oop. Free cash flow production is about the same. ROIC is lower. So how did I know that? Why did I know that many of these metrics would like to be lower? Because if you're selling products slower, you're not getting cash as fast, makes your real world profitability metrics lower. It also can do this, which I figured this would be lower, the cash on the balance sheet. The balance sheet isn't as strong. They have more, actually they have fewer liabilities now as a percentage of the entire balance sheet, but they have far less cash on the balance sheet, at least in terms of relative numbers. Remember, these are in percentages. These aren't actual dollar numbers. What you also need to look for is accounts receivable and inventory. Actually, let's go look at the absolute numbers for this. Problem with this, though, is we can't go back as far. We can only go back to 2014. So let's see. What you want to see here is inventories and accounts receivable. Actually, right here. Accounts receivable rising at about the same amount. If they are not, it's a potentially major red flag. Let's say inventory is rising far faster than accounts receivable. That may mean that the company is selling less product, may mean the industry has turned against their product, customers don't want their product anymore, which could lead to discounting of products, which would lead to lower revenue and lower profits, and lower cash flow. If these aren't rising about the same amount, and let's go back to here so we can, because we have more data. So by about that 0.4 percentage points of the balance sheet, and this is actually fallen. So this can mean, again, they're about even here, so it's not that big of a deal. But if these are not rising or falling at about the same amount, there's a mismatch in the economics and operations of the company. Something isn't going right. And it can lead to the things I just mentioned, which are major, major, major red flags. If they are rising or falling at a large differentiated rate, you need to figure out why, and then you need to figure out if that's going to last for a while. Because again, it's a major potential red flag. Okay, let's go back to the cash conversion cycle. But these, what did I just name off? 8 to 12 things that just, actually from here to here, that I noticed just from looking at these numbers in relation to each other. 8 to 12 things I just named off. That this shows you where to look, potential red flags, why it's important, potential good things if it's lowering or negative. Actually, let's talk about lowering next. We haven't talked about that. So let's say this was opposite. We talked about this rising and what it's probably not good. If this was, let's say this went from 390 to 300 here. That would be a good thing. They would likely have higher margins, more balance sheet strength, higher profits, higher cash flow, higher profitability metrics because of all the things I just mentioned. So pretty much always want to see this falling or stagnant at the very least. If you see it rising by a large amount, it's almost never a good thing. Major, major, major potential red flag if this is rising. Okay, so what goes into this number? Let's get all these back up so I get the actual definitions for you. Okay, anything in here I want to talk about? Okay, and here is how you calculate the cash conversion cycle. Days of inventory outstanding plus days sales outstanding minus days payable outstanding. This is how you calculate it. Okay, and then it goes into some more of the math here. I won't get into this. I'll link this below, but frankly, I don't get into this calculating it myself because it would take an enormous amount of time. So I rely on just the actual calculation from Morningstar. Okay, I want to get you the actual real world definition or the book definition, then talk about what the real world definition is. So days sales outstanding is a measure of the average number of days that it takes a company to collect payment after sale has been made. That's important, obviously, because if you don't collect payment, then you don't get cash. Cash is the most important thing in business, more important than operating profits, more important than ROIC. Cash in the bank is of utmost importance. So this essentially means that you get the cash in hand after you sell the product or service or whatever it is. Oops. Okay, let's go back up here. So, oh, we should have done this backwards. So it should be right here, or at least according to this definition. Okay, days sales of inventory is also known as the average day age of inventory, days inventory outstanding, days in inventory, days sales in inventory, blah, 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 blah. Indicates the average, let's go back up here. It indicates the average time in days that a company takes to turn its inventory, including goods that are a work in progress, into sales. When it says turn, that means sell. Or if it's talking about an entire product line, it means how many days it takes to sell the entire product line or service or whatever. When you see the word turn in, when you're talking about the cash conversion cycle, it means how fast they sell products. So if you have 10 shirts, for example, how long does it take you to sell those 10 shirts? Is it 10 days? Is it 100 days? Is it 50 days? Whatever it is. Anything else down here? Okay. So go back to the calculation. Days inventory outstanding plus days sale outstanding. We already talked about both of those. Minus days payable outstanding. It's a financial ratio that indicates the average time in days that a company takes to pay its bills and invoices to its trade creditors, suppliers, vendors, and other companies who they have to pay bills to. So essentially this is bills for services, utilities, products, services, whatever. This is the entire ratio right here. This is what it looks like. So let's calculate it out. So 17.9 plus 61.3 minus 104 point, oops, okay, 475.2. So that's what we have here. So this plus this minus this is the cash conversion cycle. Incredibly important number. Again, as I've kind of outlined in this video already, for Tiffany's, it doesn't look great. It's risen by, again, almost, 85 days in 9 years. That's not good. And again, I already showed you what that can mean in terms of this. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to tell you about why this is so important. Hopefully this video helps an enormous amount, because I don't think I've seen another value investing blog or investing blog talk about the cash conversion cycle pretty much ever. So you can gain an enormous advantage over other investors by knowing what this is. You can save an enormous amount of time by knowing what the numbers mean and where to look for other clues, like everything else on the preliminary analysis checklist that I talked about last video. These are here for specific reasons. They not only tell you very specific important things, both positively and negatively, they also help show you multiple different angles, I guess, potential red flags, potential good things the company is doing if you know where to look and what this number means. I'll link the other videos below in this series, and next time we'll talk about enterprise value and what Tiffany's enterprise value is, what it means, how to calculate, all that kind of stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, love, share, subscribe, and comment, and hit the notification bell so you're notified anytime we release a new video. Until next time, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Hope you learned a lot. Talk soon. Bye.